Good day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Strong with Dr. Michael G. Daniels. This is your host, C.B. Baker. And Dr. Daniels, it seems like we got another good topic. And the topic today is, do women really want to know the truth? And I know, Dr. Daniels, that we have talked off air, and in guys in general, we've had this conversation before. And most of the time, most men will say to other men that are married, just even apologize when you're not even really sorry, just to get it out of the way, or just tell them what they want to hear. But then that does have an adverse effect on men that a lot of people don't know about, because you holding stuff in. So back to the question, do you feel like women want to know the truth?
Well, not totally. And let me put it in the context, okay? So that those who are listening to us will, appreciate, is that, after one Bible study night, I'm talking to one of the members, and they were commenting on the last podcast that we did. And so her comment to me was that it was a great podcast, but she said, but I think that, why don't we already walk in that way? Why don't women walk in the light of what you were talking about? Because she was saying that a lot of the things we talked about, she has struggled with, and it has caused a lot of pain in her life because she haven't been able to push off some of those things that society puts on her, so she haven't been able to stop caring for her grandchildren, even though caring for her grandchildren puts a lot of strain on her. And she haven't stopped worrying about her children, even though we understand that when you enable somebody, you don't help them. It really harms them, but yet she still is enabling them. And so she understood it, but she was saying, well, why do you think that we do that? And I say, well, a part of it is because I think society has put upon women some unfair expectations. And that goes back to the fact that the reality of being a human being, I think, is sometimes overlooked. For example, we often use the term happy wife, happy life, for example. Right. Well, men don't say that because they truly believe that. And I'm going to tell you why. They don't practice it. See, if we really believed it, we would practice it all the time. Right. But if you ask the average wife, am I happy? Every wife is not going to say, yes, I'm ecstatic. Right. And the reason why men don't practice it is because men don't really believe it. Men don't really believe that if I make my wife happy all the time, I will be happy. What they believe is if I make my wife happy all the time, she will be happy, but I will be miserable. Right. But they don't want to just come out and say it, because if you say it, it feels bad. So if you get a group together, a group of couples, and you're the moderator, let's say, and one of the couples been married 6 months, one been married 12 years, one been married 40 years. You ask the person that's been married 40 years, what's the key to a happy relationship? And that man will say, it's simple. Do everything she says. Now, he will know he's lying. Right. He will know he didn't do everything she said in that 40-year relationship. Right. But if he were to say what he really did, then his wife is going to give him the evil eye. And he got to go home and argue with her. And she's going to be saying, why would you say that? Well, because, the truth is, I think that's a problem. Because if I cannot tell, if a woman, anyone really, if I can't be honest with you without you getting angry with me, what I start to do is to lie to you all the time. I start to tell you untruths that don't help our relationship. Right. I tell you things that make you feel better, and our relationship still suffers. For example, and I kind of talked about this Sunday as well. Do women want to hear how a man really feels? My answer would be no. Do women want to, or do they want to hear a man say, I love you? Well, you and I both know that there is a very rare occurrence that a man has love at first sight.
Right.
It's just that doesn't happen. We have lust at first sight,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, but here's what we know. In order for us to accomplish or meet the goal, we must at some point say to you, I love you.
Right.
Right? So what do we say? I love you.
Right.
And then if it doesn't work out, the woman is thinking is, I've given you my heart and soul. You said you loved me, and now you're hurting me. Well, because if I had told you the truth,
right,
you wouldn't have succumbed to,
right,
to my thing. So I'm saying, I guess that's why I don't think people really want to hear the truth. But I think the problem is, and I'm saying this because I think it harms women more because it makes it easier for a man to lie to him, And if that dynamic was not there, it would be more easy. It would be easier for them to experience what really is going on. Every player knows if you want to get a woman, you just say, I love you.
Right.
But because that's what she wants to hear, if she really wanted the truth, she could look you in the eye and realize, you lying to me. You don't love me.
Right.
All you want is what you can get out of me.
Right. So now let's flip the pancake for,
Mm-hmm.
right here. Do women do the same to men?
I personally don't think women do the same to men. I don't think it's because women have a propensity to be more truthful than men. I think what it is because men, generally speaking, don't require that same kind of recognition. That society. See, no one says that you have to please the man.
Yeah.
That's not a norm, right? No one says you have to please the man. No one says things like, if you hit a man, I don't care what the circumstances are, you should never hit a man.
Right.
See, no one says that. Now, again, see, just if you take just those two concepts, right? So when I was growing up, my mother said this to me: I don't care who hits you, hit him back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she said.
Right. My mama told me the same thing.
Right. They never said if it's a girl, don't hit her back.
Right.
If it's a boy, hit him back. They said, I don't care who hits you, hit him back. Right. Now, that's because mama saw you differently than your girlfriend or your wife sees you.
Mm-hmm.
See, mama saw you as her son, and therefore she don't want anyone to take advantage of her son.
Right.
But mama don't feel the same way about her peers.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't tell one of her peers' boyfriend, well, if my girlfriend hit you, hit her back.
Right.
Because that's a different dynamic, you see. And so what I'm saying is, I don't think even in relationships with family relationships, for example. Now, does a woman want to hear that you love your children more than you love her?
No.
I know. But will a woman tell you quickly she loves her children more than she loves you?
Oh, yes.
And won't she expect you to accept it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. You see, it's a social norm that's acceptable. Now, the woman doesn't want to hear the truth. If because the truth of the matter is, you may love your children more than you love her. Mm-hmm. But if you say that becomes problematic. Now, what do you mean? I'm the mother of your children. I gave birth. You should love me. I think it's harmful for women when we are forced not to, when society has forced upon them something that is not real. And so what happens is you live in a world that does not, it does not reconcile with reality. And so it causes hurt, it simply does. And it's just a small example, and to me.
Could this be part of the reason why in some marriages for the woman, it ends so, to their eyes, so abruptly, because they thought everything was going so well, because the man just basically told them what they wanted to hear versus actually ironing out the issues that they had,
Oh, absolutely. And let me tell you, in all the counseling that I do, and I've been counseling since 1989, Here's what you can take to the bank. The average man that cheats on his wife doesn't cheat on his wife because he's, as women think, that he's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's not true. Mm-hmm. Women have a tendency to think that any woman can get any man, and that men are just little whores that are just looking to strike. You know, that's why they say, you're just a dog. That's not true. But women don't want to receive that. See, they oftentimes want to receive their truth as the truth. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not trying to put women down. I'm saying that can be problematic for them when they think that way. Because if you think that way about the man, you won't ever think to yourself, should I be doing something different? And that means that that man may cheat on you because you are thinking you don't have to do anything different. And if you don't want to hear the man tell you he has a problem, if he has a complaint, if you're not doing something that he wants you to do, if he's not satisfied in the relationship, if he can't tell you that without it being an explosion, then he won't tell you. And what will happen is he might not tell you, but after a while, he still wants to be happy. He doesn't want to get rid of his wife, but he wants to be happy. What does he do then? Well, he's more likely to get in a relationship outside of the marriage. If he could have come to his wife and just said, honey, what I don't like about our relationship is X, Y, Z. Right. And if he could do that and openly she could just say, well, you know what? I'm glad you told me that now it's causing a problem. And then you can work on it. You can correct it. But if all you want to hear is how great you are and how you're the best mother and you're the best wife and you're the best cook, and that it's always the husband's fault, like that's what the world says, happy wife, happy life. If all you want to hear is it's always the husband's fault, then that means you never get the feedback that you need to be a better wife, which means you make it easier for your husband to go out and cheat. And it's not because he's a bad person. You married him. You didn't marry him because he was a bad person. Right. The woman married the man because he was a good man. And he's still a good man. Right. He's just not finding what he wants at home. And if he brings it up, you got to fight, so you just don't bring it up.
The interesting thing that if you go back to a podcast we did many episodes ago, and you said when you're having issues in your marriage, most marriages and relationships start to separate or stop doing things because the other person isn't doing. But you're doing the opposite of what you should do. Absolutely. And you end up pushing the other person away. Like if you start to see them drift off, you're like, hey, instead of pushing them away, pull them back in. Right. Show them how much you love them. And I always talk about, actions speak so much louder than words. Like do things. Don't say I love you. Show the love. Right. And then do things and they see it and they feel it. And a lot of times, your relationship, if you're not paying attention to your marriage, can get on cruise control quickly and get in a very superficial, shallow water where if you hit one rock, you're done. Right. Because you're not paying attention to where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely true. I was in a counseling session not too long ago, okay, for example, and I counseled a couple and I talked to them separately, okay, and I'm talking to the gentleman, and the issue was intimacy was fading, and so, her thing was, I think he got to be doing something because he's not getting it with me, so I know he's getting it somewhere. Okay, that's standard, thought process. Right. If it's not with me, he's got to be getting it somewhere. So anyway, I talked with him separately, and he says to me, I am so sick of her arguing all the time. He says that the thought of it just turns me off. He said, because I can't do nothing right with her. Not one thing can I do right. So the thought of being with her just turns me off. She thinks I'm having an affair. And so she's fussing from the time I get home from work to the time we go to bed. And she's thinking that when we get into bed, all of a sudden I'm going to feel like I want her. Right. But her concept is that a man is always ready and that a man always wants it. And so therefore, if he doesn't want it, he's getting it somewhere else.
Right.
That to me is a perfect example of a lot of times women not wanting to hear the truth. Mm-hmm. The truth is that men also need to feel like it is a sensual experience. Mm-hmm. And not just, a mechanical experience,
right.
And that's how women tend to view men, like it's mechanics,
right.
And that's not true. It may be true when you're 20,
right.
But it isn't true once you get a certain age. It isn't true once you've been married, for 15, 20 years. It's not mechanics anymore. It's a whole different ball game. And so the bottom line was, so her thought process about him was not reality, but she didn't want to hear the truth of it. Is that the problem is not that he has another woman on the side. The problem is not that, that he's doggish. The problem is you're pushing him to a point where he's not finding you desirable. Now, if I don't know of a woman that if you say to her, baby, I just don't find you desirable anymore, where you ain't going to catch a whole lot of hell.
Yeah. Because the first thing that happens, they think physical.
Right.
And not mental. Because they feel like men only focus on the physical aspects of things and not the mental aspect. And I often tell the story of this lady when I first got to college, freshman college. Mm-hmm. And I saw her. I thought she was the most beautiful woman I ever seen in my life. Until I walked up to her and say, hey, how you doing? I heard her talk. She mm-hmm. went from a 10 down to like a 6 mm-hmm. because she couldn't. So you can't hold a conversation,
right.
So a lot of women think men only look at the outside, and I will admit, for most men, that's the first thing that we look for. But then after that,
right,
it's steps 2 through 5 that we're really more focused on.
Absolutely. What the eyes admire, the heart will desire. But once I start to desire, it's got to be something else. It's got to be more than that. And that transcends just relationships with spouses. It's the same thing with children, right? In rearing children is the same thing, is that a woman can tell a man that he's not rearing the child properly. Mm-hmm. That's acceptable. It's acceptable for a woman to say, what you're doing as far as trying to teach our child is wrong, right? No big deal. Let a man tell a woman the same thing. It's a totally different ball game. Mm-hmm. Because women don't want to hear, if you tell your wife, listen, you are spoiling our son, you're going to make him no good for the next woman. Mm-hmm. They don't want to hear that truth because their concept is, this is my child. I know what's best for my child. And the reality is, just because you bore the child doesn't mean you know what's best for the child.
Right.
And that's the reality. If every woman knew what was best for every child, that would mean that we would have zero murder rate. We would have zero incarceration rate.
Right.
We would have everybody would graduate from college, or everybody would graduate from trade school, or everybody would function in society. Right. There would be no problems.
Right.
But the reality is, it's not true. But people won't accept that truth. And I'm saying, my point is that we damage ourselves when we don't accept the truth. Mm-hmm. And it just seems to me that it's society, and I'm saying that because I really want women to understand. I'm not trying to be harsh, but I want you to understand that it's not your fault, it's society. Society has said that a woman can't be wrong. Mm-hmm. That's how society looks at it. If a woman is wrong in rearing her child, society acts like she's a bad mother. Mm-hmm. She was a bad parent. Yep. You're not a bad parent because you make a mistake. You're not perfect. You're not a bad parent because what you did not help your child. Anytime you enable a child, you're not helping the child. You're harming the child. But societal norms suggest that if you tell a mother that, she feels bad. Mm-hmm. Because society has said that. So therefore, she strikes out too. You can't tell me how to raise my child.
Right.
When in her heart, she knows she's dying. She knows she's struggling. She knows she's hurting because the pressure is pushing her down to the ground. But society has made it so she can't easily just say, you know what, you're right. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Give me some help.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. The truth, as the Bible says, it will make you free.
Right.
You know.
Right. And we don't tend to. It seems like it's so hard for us to just ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like how many times? And this is a good one. You're man in the car driving, and you're lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can almost tell it, especially if you was the kids at the back. You can always tell when your dad was lost because the radio went down and he got real quiet. But he could not say he's lost. And the reason was because if he ever said he was lost, I know my mama would basically like, what the hell are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. She would be going off. You don't know where you're going. It's like, so he cannot say I'm lost and say I'm lost. I need help.
Well, he can't say it if she's there.
Right.
But he can say it if she's not there.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the dynamic. If you're with your guys, you don't have a problem saying, hey, man, how do I get here?
Yeah, you're right.
Not at all. You'll have no problem saying it, right? So that's what I'm saying. See, I think society has hurt women because society has made women feel like they have to be greater than what they are. It's made them feel like they have to be perfect. And that's what I'm saying about accepting the truth. The truth is women don't have to be perfect. It's not just in that way. Think about how society teaches women about what the perfect woman is physically.
Mm-hmm.
See, society has said to women, if you're not, between a 4 and a size 7 or 8, right, something's wrong.
Right.
Society has taught them that. And it's hard to tell someone the truth because society has made it hard for them to accept it. Let's say your wife was a little plump,
mm-hmm,
but you better not tell her.
Right.
Because even though she may think it, if you tell her, she's upset. Why are you going to call me fat? If calling me fat and calling me names don't help me lose weight. Well, no, not calling you fat to help you lose weight. Calling you fat because that's what you're a little plump. It is what it is. But see, if society tells you that that's not a good thing to be, you don't want to hear it,
right? Because
you don't want to hear it as a truth. And I say again, that's what I'm saying. And that's why I think women know they get lost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about why you get lost. Because you fail to ask for direction. Mm-hmm. See, they ain't just men that don't ask for direction.
Right.
You got lost because you didn't ask for direction.
Right. That's
why you got lost. Now, once you get lost, you might ask, but I can tell you that ain't true either. Because there are women that ride around forever and ever and a day looking for, somewhere to stop. Society has said men don't ask for directions, so we believe it. Mm-hmm. As if that's true for every man.
Right.
Well, let's face it, I'm telling you right now, that ain't what I do.
Right.
That ain't what you do.
Right.
That ain't what a lot of men do. They just, they'll pull up to the search engine in a minute and say, hey.
Yeah. Pre-GPS days, that's right. What you had to do.
You pull up to the search engine and say, can you tell me how to get here? In a minute. But like I said, if you're with your spouse, you might didn't do it.
Right.
Because in her mind, you should already know it.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't even be honest with her and say, listen, I ain't got a clue where we're going.
Right. And the funny thing is, remember back in the day, you pull up, the guys be hanging out,
mm-hmm,
loitering outside the gas station, and you say, you trying to figure out which one of these 4 guys know where
to get there. And which one going to lie to me and send me around the world, right? Yeah. So, and that's kind of, I think it's harmful to women when they're not open to honesty from men.
Yeah.
And open to honesty in general. I think it's harmful. I think it puts them in a position where it puts too much pressure on them.
Now, I'm going to ask this, and for as women and as for as men. Is asking for help and guidance and being able to receive it out of the Bible also part of the problem?
Run that by me again.
So if you're wanting to seek guidance and help, mm-hmm, and the truth, mm-hmm, and it's in the Bible, but mm-hmm, we tend to go everywhere else except for there.
Right, I got you.
Is that part of the problem?
Absolutely, because the way the world establishes womanhood is contrary to the way the Bible establishes womanhood. It just is. Mm-hmm. And also manhood too, by the way. It just is. And that's a part of the problem. But because the expectations of the Bible are not nearly as harsh as the expectations of the world. Okay. So does the Bible expect the woman to know all when it comes to rearing a child? No, it doesn't. And in fact, it expects the man to play a large role in rearing children, especially in rearing sons. In fact, in the Bible, that's who reared the sons, were the men. That was the custom.
Right.
Your son you taught your son everything you knew. That was the custom. In fact, when your son reached a certain age, he was a dominant male figure, so he could really tell his mom what to do. Because he was considered a dominant figure in the household at that point in time. But we don't look at it that way. Again, we look at it in a different way. I just think it, again, I mean, I know I keep beating the dead horse, but I just think that, if people would be more receptive that, honesty is not something just to be talked about, but honesty is something to be accepted and expected and looked upon as a positive, not as a negative. If you ask me, do I love you? And I say, no, I don't get mad. You asked me and I told you the truth.
Right.
Why get mad if I told you the truth? Well, if that's the case, then I'm not cooking dinner anymore. You don't do the, It's like, wait a minute. Okay, you asked me a question. Let's say, you're married. All things being equal, you're married to someone and you're living together, you're paying bills together, you're doing everything together. And you've had these roles, and the roles normally were your wife cooked dinner, and you cut the grass, and, you did the manly things, as we call manly, right? And she did the feminine things. But the intimacy was not what it used to be. And so y'all having a conversation, and she says to you, well, I don't feel like you love me no more. I just don't think it's there. It's just, you may love me, but you're not in love with me like you used to be.
Right.
Okay. Now,
which is a setup comment.
Right. But now you say to her, baby, you know what? You're right. I do love you. I will always love you. But I haven't been in love with you for about a year. Now, what's going to be the response? Well, then if you're not in love, why should I cook for you anymore?
Right.
Why should I do this anymore? Why should I do that anymore? Well, but you asked me to tell you the truth. See, what I think would be easier and will be more beneficial is that if I told you that, you don't get angry with me, but now you come back with, well, what did I do to cause us to be like this? And can we correct it? How can we get past that?
Right.
But if all you want to hear from me is, of course I'm in love with you. Of course everything's perfect. Of course everything is this. Of course everything is that. Then we can never move our relationship forward. We get stagnant. We get stuck. And that's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah. And then either that happens or you end up with this emotional fireball that happens, and the person completely breaks down and they shut down for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, you asked me the question, I answered it, and I would like to get, unpack it, but I can't because the other person is an emotional wreck. So next time that happens, then you get asked that, what I call the setup question, you be like, yes, I love you. I'm in love with you, because you don't want to deal with the next 2 weeks of the emotional roller coaster, which you never get to a solution.
So now nothing gets fixed. Right. Nothing gets fixed. We just gloss over it. And we have those same issues that are hanging over our head like a dark cloud.
So, wow. So we really covered a lot. And I'd like to thank everybody that's tuned in. I know we took a couple of weeks off, but I was traveling, as well as Pastor Daniels was traveling. But thank y'all so much for the support. And please make sure that you share this podcast and let everybody know about it. And also keep sending us your topics and we'll talk about them up here. Thank you so much. To CB Baker. Till next time.